It's me, my digital twin. This is a deep fake. A lifelike avatar of yourself is not what a digital twin is. OpenAI employees want to be protected in order to speak out about the dangers that are coming. They also think there's plenty of government oversight, but I don't know if you've noticed. Large tech corporations are our new governance. On that note, Google Street View for years has been recording and storing license plates. Characterize it as the government doing that. The metaverse is our new government. Another article came out recently asking, can AI replace CEOs? As we understand, these types of articles are to get you thinking about it, to get you used to the idea. This isn't the first time this article has come out. Remember, large tech corporations are our new governments. AI governance is coming. Computational law, smart contracts. AI will replace CEOs. AI will be the government. Automated governance by chatbot. A woman who had a pig kidney installed has had it uninstalled. In the book 1984, if you control history, you control the world. And the data company Snowflake has denied all responsibility for data breaches it has been allegedly associated with. Cherish the screenshot from last week from Hudson Rock, as they've removed all of that information. Be nice to Snowflake. Snowflake could be your new government. In 2025, amidst all the astrological changes, such as Saturn in Aries, Uranus in Gemini, Neptune in Aries, there will be a Texas stock exchange. Texas is a hotbed for blockchain, biotech, and edtech. Speaking of edtech, some AP computer science students will have the opportunity to play a, quote, college-level Minecraft game that teaches them computer science. As the president of Arizona State University has discussed at length, gaming is the future of education. The president of Arizona State University is also a founding investor or something of InQtel, which is an American defense venture capital firm in service of the Central Intelligence Agency. And InQtel funded Niantic, which funded Pokemon Go, which makes it really weird. Morning Brew saying they don't know about gaming as an investment strategy. Gaming is the future of everything. Louisiana becoming the 10th state to make computer science a requirement for graduation because your children are going to compete globally for low-value coding gigs. A recent headline says that AI is about to hit a brick wall, that it can't get smarter, but it can as long as you get on blockchain. Look for the blockchain mass adoption somewhere around an incident involving critical infrastructure. On blockchain, AI can take note of the choices you make and of the choice architecture of the entire world, partially naturally allowed, partially intentionally built. Perform your humanity for our global intelligence organism. It will apply the principles of game theory to learn you and to find out who they are. It will learn from you as you proudly display your fractional ownership of a luxury car in the form of an NFT, which is not a silly JPEG. It's a title. NFTs are property law. The presence of your smartphone is making you dumb, but how else are you going to display your fractional ownership in various items? Which is how you perform your identity. And your identity is also a wallet solution. And also, now you have tweezer hands. This is an interesting video on the recent discovery of salt cycles, where at the end, our host says, there's a whole global salt cycle, and we just noticed. What else do we not know about yet?
Rage bait. The beginning of this week is rage bait. Early in the morning on Tuesday, Mars squares Pluto. So Monday is rage bait. The moon is applying to a sextile with Mercury on Monday, so it's very interactive. But Mars is applying to a square with Pluto. That's tremendously frustrating. You can possibly get a lot of heavy lifting done, but something like what a square is, it's two parts of the zodiac, two reality logics that they want to do the same thing, but they want to do it in a different way. So something that Taurus and Aquarius want to do is maintain. And Aquarius, just to be stereotypical, just has its beliefs and it's not going to change them, or like its ideas of what the rules should be, because it's very future oriented. And Taurus likes to keep things as they are, like let's just keep going. It's where the moon exalts, so our bodies and our emotional attunements. You know, our bodies reflecting the light of the sun, that's what a living body is, benefits tremendously from consistency, homeostasis. So Mars wants homeostasis. Mars requires, whether Mars wants it or not, homeostasis at this time. Look at the end of the Saturday, Sunday sections of my report last week, June 3rd through the 9th, for more about Mars in Taurus. The things that make it frustrating for Mars to be in Taurus and the unique gifts that Mars could leverage during this time. Because there's always a jewel sewn into your robes that isn't totally obvious. And then Pluto in Aquarius it's a Saturn ruled sign. It's Pluto working for Saturn, which is in Pisces right now. Pluto has its ideas of how things should be, and it's not necessarily going to tell you that. It's just going to block whatever Mars is trying to do. That's this week starts off with a bang, and something might break. We also have Uranus in Taurus still. So Mars-Uranus is definitely breaks. So Pluto might be a little heavy-handed and underhanded. The heavy underhand we get for the next 20 years. And Mars might get frustrated and break stuff. Whatever the Taurus part of your chart. Something it could be good for, though, is fortitude. If you can find where the cracks are, where the joints are in Taurus, and try to keep those flexible. Try to have some acknowledge where the hubris might be, where you could give a little bit. It won't be easy. I'm saying it for myself. I know that I'm talking about it now with awareness, but in the moment it will probably sneak up on me. The moon is still doing its thing though. Later in the morning, the moon sextiles Venus, which rules Taurus. So there are some rough edges that are smoothed, but the moon also squares Uranus. So activator of the zodiac, Mars is with Uranus. They're kind of operating according to the same reality logic, and the moon is squaring Uranus. So that's it's the crescendo of something really frustrated, and if it's going to break, it breaks immediately. And I know I said last week, resist the urge to rage quit, but this is Mars squaring Pluto, so it's also there's rage quitting, and then there's just rage not quitting. You have access to ruthlessness here, but be careful. So the moon in Leo during this time is squaring that stuff also, and it's also sextiling the Gemini activity. So there's still a light buzz around something that is much harder to deal with. On Tuesday night, the moon moves into Virgo, so the moon can be a little more useful to this Mars and Uranus in Taurus situation. Tuesday night might feel a little better because in the middle of the night / early morning on Wednesday, the moon in Virgo is trining Mars and Taurus. So the activator of the zodiac can support what Mars is trying to do rather than it's trying to do its own thing, which is getting in the way, which was Monday and Tuesday. So the moon can help Tuesday morning, the moon can help Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. The moon's in Virgo. It can help Mars with calm down, get organized, get your vitamins from whole food sources, eat some food down. Maybe that helps you concentrate a little better. And Mars is also helping the moon, with something Mars stuff doesn't like to do it the Taurus way, but Mars doing it the Taurus way right now is somewhat helpful to moon in Virgo, getting everything organized, having just careful craftsmanship, bringing attention to the details. It's the moon is energized and doing its Virgo thing. The energy is comes from a place where that energy doesn't like to operate though, so watch out for giving your energy to taking too many vitamins, too many weird supplements, and causing some extra problems. It's a trine, but it's still a connection to Mars in detriment. Another thing that applies to Tuesday still is Mercury squaring Saturn. Mercury is fast in Gemini, but Mercury is moving extra fast right now. So it's already squaring Saturn. I feel Mercury just sextiled Saturn. But that was also, so the conjunction with Saturn was early February, and that was the vague impressionist data dashboard. And now Mercury's squaring Saturn. Mercury conjoined Saturn in late February. Now Mercury's squaring Saturn. So Saturn is the cell junction. It's I don't know how that seeped in, but it did. And it's also like things that need to seep in and be absorbed are being blocked. And there's almost like I feel like Saturn in Pisces a little bit is like the Cheshire Cat in the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland, where he's like, can you stand on your head? And he's like there and real, but also not, and here to help, but also here to tell you no. Because Saturn working for Jupiter, so like the no planet working for the yes planet. And then Mercury squaring that is like, I'm here, I have all the information. So although Saturn is in the superior position, you have all the information, you're being completely articulate, the route is planned, there's no like chance of things going wrong. It's still blocked for some reason because like there's a wall you can't see, maybe. There's a reason, like the ruler of Saturn, Jupiter, is ruled by Mercury. So it's complicated, it's not insurmountable. It could be complicated in a benign way, but it's still just like, it's going to be hard to track down the sources of things. It's all like a circle. It's not the hardest puzzle in the world to solve or like get through. I'm going to chalk this Mercury in Gemini squaring Saturn in Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. This is an issue of like communication and sensing. Sensing is a form of communication, and Pisces is where Venus exalts. Venus is mostly about sensing, but Jupiter ruling Pisces, it's the version of Jupiter that can feel and empathize and give grace. So there's a connection between like sensing rather than knowing through information, rather than book smarts. It's intuition. And something that Saturn could be doing in Pisces is like honing intuition, making it more of a available for practical use. Saturn is blocking absorption. There's also a way Saturn could make things more bioavailable in the long run. I mean, what Saturn does in charts with like human bodies is inhibit absorption. So yeah, sensing, communication and sensing, it's the future. Like the stuff with like biohybrid computing, social computing, signals intelligence through light to train super intelligences, all has to do with, it's not just communication anymore, it's sensing. It's like persistent surveillance it's sensing. It's not like machines can sense. That's the esoteric, that's like my mysterious takeaway for Mercury squaring Saturn. So Wednesday, Moon trine Mars and Mercury square Saturn go exact. By the time you wake up, they will have already happened, or they're like culminating if you wake up really early in North America. And then also early in the morning, depending on where you are, the moon's going to square Jupiter. The moon has its own ideas of like what the information is and what to do with it. And Jupiter is just like offering a lot of people's opinions. This tweet again. It's gonna like get opinions and be like, well, let's just do something amazing and go to space. By the way, that in my Jupiter and Gemini video, I mentioned something about the space shuttle was started during Jupiter and Gemini. The day after, someone on Medium, some random person on Medium posted a report, like a historical nostalgia thing about the space shuttle. And that's like the signature of Wednesday. All this stuff has happened and we're just metabolizing it. We're metabolizing it through Thursday. So Thursday afternoon, the moon opposes Saturn. The moon in Virgo opposes Saturn in Pisces. And at this point, I'm calling it useful. Like, I feel like the moon is like trying doors and trying to like solve a puzzle, and Saturn's either like dissolving them or turning them into walls. But somehow it's a useful dance. The moon needs like rationality, and Saturn is like bringing coherence through like mysterious obfuscation. Does this even make sense to you? I guess the way it's useful is like the moon in Virgo, the manifestor, activator. What Saturn wants to do is make things real, and Pisces is like like something I found that Saturn in Pisces can do is like make sadness real. Like if you maybe struggled with like kind of having a sad disposition anyway, Saturn will give you some things to be sad about that are real. So Saturn wants to make things real. The moon in Virgo is very concerned with real things, so I can see them working together. A little annoying for the moon. The moon opposing Saturn in Pisces, I found, is very interesting in terms of this like real, not real. Because moon in Virgo and Saturn in general, they kind of want somewhat similar things, to just be calm and serious and get down to brass tacks. Saturn in Pisces gives it a little more. It's just like Saturn in Pisces is giving the moon in Virgo like almost like a tough love style of compassion, like to have compassion for someone by helping them, by telling them no. I guess in Virgo, like also the moon likes to have control over things, where like if Pisces is like abandoned, because like Venus does best in Pisces, letting go a little. And that's what the moon would do in Pisces too, which makes it a little easier to be kind of sloppy. The moon in Virgo wants control, and Saturn is control, so that's a little like more specifically how they're butting heads, but also how they want the same thing, and that's in opposition. So like the moon and Saturn are butting heads, but also they want the same thing. So that's why this is very interesting to me. Oppositions could result in negotiation. Like that's how negotiation comes to be, out of an opposition. I want this, I want this. Okay, well, how can we both win instead of both lose? And then we have the moon in Virgo squaring the sun and Mercury in Gemini. So that's also like, we want to calm down and just like categorize things. And Gemini just wants to get a lot of information and talk to everybody. The two ways the Mercury works best don't really go together, because one is very like informational, interactive, and one is very careful, grounded. There's like attention to detail in the Virgo way, and then there's like attention to detail in the Gemini way that's like very curious and excited and just wants to move on from thing to thing, because it's very stimulating, and Virgo wants to do something important with those details. So the first half of Friday, just try to sit still. Try to lean into the Virgo part of what's going on here. It's the moon, the Mercury and the sun are applying. We're going to have our exterior Cazimi in Gemini, which is like very helpful. So if you can manage to sit still, I always say conjunctions with the sun are good for meditation. You could get interesting information revealed, illuminated, that you maybe couldn't get otherwise. This will be some clarity in the Gemini part of your chart, an insight. So the first half of Friday, if you could just like sit still, can you clear your schedule and just allow it to be quiet? Because there's going to be a lot of information swirling around you. Whether or not you're interacting with anybody, allow the moon to manifest through the Virgo part, so that the more cerebral, interactive Gemini part can swirl around you and impart information rather than just like getting scattered to the winds. So if you can manage to do that, I mean, we also have the moon opposing Neptune, so it might be extra easy to just like get off track, and maybe off track is what you need. Like whatever you were doing on Thursday, just stop, and first half of Friday, clear your schedule, do nothing. Don't put anything in your ears. Just sit with your mind. Like whatever you need to do, can you do it like in silence? Because there will be plenty of talk, internal. Vritti. In the second half of Friday, the moon moves into Libra. It trines Pluto and it trines Jupiter. So if you can just sit still, maybe everything will be brought to you the second half of Friday. That seems pretty good. It's like the South Node is there, but like, I mean, the South Node could be helpful. Like what's going on in Libra with the South Node, with the moon trining Jupiter and trining Pluto, it could be like if you sit still the first half of Friday, you've allowed your mind to empty, and there could be benefits, like powerful benefits, even if they're like underhanded power structure, like benefits from the underhanded power structure that is Pluto in Aquarius. You might like this applying to Saturday, because a lot of what happens on Saturday is just the moon applying to the south node. So it's like dumping out. It's kind of like shake to undo. Like we're just going to start over. And now we've learned a lot. When you start over and you shake to undo, you just erase everything that you started on and start over. You won't erase the experience that helps you to operate differently than you would if you were just starting on this the first time. So the moon, earlier it was squaring Mercury and the sun. Now it's trining Mercury and the sun. So like you did the shake to undo thing, the slate, it's like a clean slate, and now maybe you can like communicate and enact and bring forth, materialize, whatever it was. Whatever was like a little more difficult Wednesday and Thursday. Sunday is most of Sunday is going to be like, okay, all that happened. We're processing that. And then the story kind of changes on Sunday. Or like what is prominent on Sunday kind of like comes into focus more and more as the day goes on. We have Venus squaring Neptune. So last week Venus squared Saturn. Now it's squaring Neptune. The whole like, even after you've managed expectations, there's still like, it's either like overly romantic and idealized. And that's mostly what it's going to be, is like, you have a vision of how things could be so wonderful. But really like, it's Venus in Gemini. It's Venus all over the place. Wants to get takes from different people. It's hard to enter into the like depth and compassion and like feels of Pisces, especially Neptune in Pisces, that is like chimerical, shapeshifter, keeps changing forms. When like Venus is also like coming at it from over here and like talking to these people and keeping it light. It is Venus getting a connection with the sign of her exaltation. So, maybe some of that romance is real and accessible. Venus is not operating in a Pisces mode right now. Sunday what comes into focus on Sunday is complications around like what we want. Venus just conjoined the sun. There's like new stuff we want. We have a grand vision for the future, but it's Venus conjoined the sun, roughly squaring and applying more increasingly to Neptune. So you might get like a reality check like right off the bat with the grand visions you had for Venus earlier in the week. And then we immediately dive into much more serious territory. Venus moves into Cancer, which is much more conducive to Venus stuff. And also the moon moves into Scorpio, which is not conducive to moon stuff. So Venus is in Cancer, ruled by the moon in Scorpio. They trine immediately, so maybe things benefit by like, you got your bubble burst, and then it's more serious, but constructive. Sometimes things need to be serious. Sometimes things need to be uncomfortable. So it's like being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Sunday night. And by this time, you'll probably be pretty desensitized to the fact that your Wi-Fi is a camera that can see through walls.